not me filming this entire book haul and the file getting corrupt, and then I have to film all over again. Here, look who's joined us. He's just a big chicken nugget. I found this adorable indie bookstore really close to my house, about 10 minutes from me, and I try really hard not to buy physical books because I am mostly an ebook reader, and honestly it's just kind of hard for me to spend $25 on like a hardback. I do not reread books very often at all, so to me it's just, I can get the same thrill of the book spending, you know, $5 to $11 on an ebook than I would spending the other, you know, $12 or so on a hardback. So I want to go through these stack of books. I have 12 physical books that I picked up from this indie bookstore. This place is massive, by the way. I love seeing that books get used and abused in bookstores. I always look for the most like disheveled looking book when I buy used books, because then you know like it's definitely a good read. So the first book that I picked up was The Canary Murder Case. So this book is actually a series of, I think, about 19. This is the second one. They didn't have any of the other ones, but I did read the first one on my Kindle. I feel like you can read these out of order. This book is set in the 20s. This book is set in the 20s in the homicide division of the New York Police Department, and there is just this like big file case of like all of these files just like sitting in an office. That's what's recollected like within these books. I think this is just your like classic American detective. At least that's what I got from the first one. I'm really excited to read this one, and then hopefully if I enjoyed this one as much as I did the first one, I will read the other ones in the series. So I'm really happy to be able to have picked this up. There are 256 pages in this book, so it's pretty small. The next book that I picked up was Karen Slaughter's Blonde Hair, Blue Eyes. So this book is about a girl, Julia Carroll, who she lives in a college town and notices that women are going missing in her area, and she is a journalist who works for a local college paper. She is, I guess, going to attempt to find out what happened to these women. This book is super short. I'm pretty sure this is only 73 pages, so I'll probably read this one first just because it is so short, but I'm excited. The next book that I picked up was Northanger Abbey by the one and only Jane Austen. The camera isn't going to focus, that's fine. Everyone knows what this is about. It's a classic. I've read it before, but I have never had the physical copy, and I just thought that this cover was just so beautiful. I couldn't pass it up, so that's really great. Also, if you see, all these books have these like little white stickers on them. At this bookstore that I picked all of these up from, for instance, The Canary Murder, it has this little white sticker. I got this for $1. If you finish a book and you return it to this bookstore, they give you a 50% back in-store credit to use on other books, which I thought was super cool. The next book that I picked up was from Peter Swanson, The Kind Worth Killing. I have really been getting into like thriller horror novels lately. I seem to have like found my jam with those. I would love for you guys to comment down your favorite horror or thriller books, because I have loved me a good thriller. Okay, Ted and Lily, who forge an unusual bond, talk about the ways Ted can get out of his marriage, but Lily has her own dark history. She's not sharing with Ted. As Ted begins to fall in love with Lily, he grows anxious about any holes in their scheme that could give it away. And suddenly the two are pulled in a very lethal game of cat and mouse, one in which both are not likely to survive when all is said and done. So, I'm excited. So the next book that I picked up was by Michael Robotham, I think is how you say his name. This is The Secret She Keeps. Stephen King dubbed this book an absolute master, so there's the first thing that draws my eye to this book. Also, the cover being blue, and I don't know if you guys can see, like, this is her eyes. Super creepy. With the thriller horror thing we have going on here. This is supposed to be quite riveting. The next book that I picked up was A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. So this is pretty much set in the School of Solomons, and failure in your education means death, like quite literally. That's about all I know of this book. The woman at the indie bookstore recommended this to me. I saw this and saw that so many people had been loving this book lately, and I was like, oh, like, is that for sale? She's like, yeah, all of this stuff for sale, it's just the new publication stuff. So I was like, sign me up. I'll definitely take a copy of this. I'm really excited. The next book that I picked up actually isn't for me. It's Serpent and Dove. I picked this up for a friend of mine who said she'd been looking for a copy. Honestly, I have no interest in reading this. This is like not my forte. This kind of like romancy type. I got my fill of that when I read all of the ACOTAR books. I don't need it from this. And plus, honestly, I've heard
this is kind of bad.
But don't tell my friend that. This is for her. And if you're watching this, I'm sorry. But it's here for you. The next book that I picked up was Turtles All the Way Down. It has this cute little turtle in the front that you can't see because somebody lost the book cover for it. But this is by John Green. There we go. Turtles All the Way Down. I have read this book before, twice actually, but I don't have a physical copy of this book, so I'm happy that I do. And now I can highlight it, tab it up. I'll probably wind up making my own book cover for it. I'm not crazy about how this looks. The spine is quite nice though. It has this like reflective silver edging, so at least when it's on my bookshelf, I know what it is. Excited to have a physical copy of that book. The next book that I picked up is my first physical copy of a Stephen King book, and that is Christine. So I know that this isn't everyone's favorite, but honestly, come on. A killer car comes to life. How bad can it be? This is a thick one. Girl is...
She's thicker than a Snicker up in here.
712 pages, Mr. King.
Why's it gotta be that juicy?
There's no need for that. You could have split this. You could have split this up like Deathly Hallows Part 1 and 2. I don't need this. I'm gonna read it, but it doesn't need to be this thick. On to the next book. The next book that I picked up from that indie bookstore was actually another recommendation made by the woman who works there, which is Roommate. I have absolutely no idea what this book is about. Okay, I read the synopsis. Apparently this is going to be some kind of acquaintances to lovers or friends to lovers, maybe even enemies to lovers. I'm not sure. Madison is like a college student who's just trying to get by, make a little money for herself when she accepts a job as a room maid with a wealthy man. So she's going to stay in his penthouse as a roommate. Her only job is to keep it clean, keep it organized, play with his dog. So free room and board. That's about what I got from the synopsis, but she said that this was a really witty romance. So I generally don't read books like this, but she said it was super funny and it's a good comedy, and I think this will do a good job breaking up the monotony of like horror slasher books that I read. So we'll see how this goes. Hopefully this will be in my wrap up for January. The next book that I picked up was Foolish Hearts, which I think is going to fall into the same category as Roommate, being just your typical maybe high school or early college drama, maybe a romance. So essentially this girl eavesdrops on a friend of hers and her boyfriend breaking up, and I don't think anybody was supposed to know. Yeah, so Claudia is navigating friendship and a tentative romance in this book. This was also recommended to me by the woman who was showing me around the store. So we'll always read books that are recommended to me, even if they're not my preferred genre, because if somebody can find something that they love and that they really enjoyed and are passionate enough to share that with others, I think I at least owe them the chance to actually give it a read. I mean, these books are pretty short, at least the ones that she recommended me. This is 305 pages. Like, this isn't going to take me more than a day or two to read. I have my entire life to read books. If somebody recommends you something, just read it. My last physical book that I picked up before we move into the ebooks that I got was actually Don Quixote, this copy of Modern Library. Let me tell you how excited I am for this. One, it's disheveled. I need to clean her up. But in the back, there's like all these punch cards from all of the libraries that this book came from. And I don't know if you can see here, this person was to return this book by January 31st of 1967. Like, holy crap, that's how long this book has been passed around, how many hands it's been in. The binding is a little questionable, like here and in the front. This is literally the classic of classics. I have always wanted to read it. The font is a really nice size. I think it's very doable. So really want to get around to this book soon, and I think just this color is gorgeous, especially this spine, like just sitting on my bookshelf. So super excited to read both parts 1 and 2 of Don Quixote. The one that I'm definitely reading first is Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I've been dying to read this book forever now. I'm way behind on these like TikTok 5-star books, so I'm gonna give this a read. You will see this book in my wrap up. I'm really excited to kind of see where it goes. It's about the life of Evelyn Hugo and like Hollywood vibes I'm getting about just her life being a film star. I am excited to finally give this one a go. The next book that I picked up was Gone to See the Riverman. I've heard that this book is wild. absolutely crazy. So it's about this woman who is carrying out a task for a serial killer. I don't know if they're like pen pals or what, but it's about like her and I guess her disabled sister going into the woods to do a task for the serial killer. That's about really all I know. That's all I need to know for right now. I'm excited to read it. Pray for me. The next ebook that I picked up is Womb by Duncan Ralston. This is a really short book. I'm pretty sure this is only like 100 and so-ish pages, maybe like 180, somewhere around that mark. So I'll probably definitely get around to this in my January wrap up. I heard this was super disgusting. I have a stomach of steel. When I'm reading about things, truly not a lot of things bug me. I am a criminal justice and homeland security major. My entire education has just been me reading case files that would make the average person puke their guts up. So reading about horrific things or things that would make the average person queasy don't even scratch the surface for me. This was recommended to me, so we'll see if this bugs me or if it disturbs me in any way, and we'll just kind of go from there. So you'll see this book in my wrap up because it's rather short. The next book that I picked up is You've Reached Sam. Nicole Gallagher just hosted her like book group wrap up, or her podcast that they do each month, and I always read those books if it's good enough for them to read and love, and it's good enough for me. So You've Reached Sam is on the list. Plus I did see a girl on TikTok talk about it and she was bawling her eyes out, so gotta be pretty good. The next book that I got was My Sister is a Serial Killer. I'm judging a book by its cover here. I don't need any more than that to want to read it. So 10 out of 10 on the cover. That cover is great. So let me know if you like this book. If you've read it already, leave it in the comments. The next book that I picked up was Loveless by Alice Oseman. I know that Kat from Paperback Dreams, Alice Oseman, was one of her favorite authors. I have not read Radio Silence yet, which is this book. I'll probably have to give that a go, but I did pick up Loveless. I just really loved just kind of like this vibe that the cover gives, as well as the fact that I've never read anything from that author before, and the ratings are really great for this book. This book has a 4.31 on Goodreads. This is a contemporary YA book, and I usually don't read much from that genre, but it's about this girl. Her name is Georgia, and she has never been in love. She's never had a crush, never on a boy or a girl, or had her first kiss. She has never had a crush on anyone. She starts college still feeling the same way, and then within college, you know, she decides that it's time for her to find romance, and that puts a really big rift in her friendships. She has two really good friends, at least from what I could tell in the synopsis, and this puts like a really big bind in their friendship. So I definitely am ready to read something from Alice Oseman, and I think here is a good place to start. The next book that I purchased was Karen Slaughter's False Witness. I don't need to read any synopsis to read a Karen Slaughter book. I'll read them all. So I'm pretty sure this is her newest publication. You don't have to ask me twice. I won't even read synopsis for these books anymore. I just read them because chances are I'm gonna be thrown for a loop and it'll be a fun one. And the next book that I picked up was Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I'm not sure how you say his last name, but these books really interest me because I love outer space. Anything that has to do with anything cosmological.
Okay.
English. How about we start with English today? Anything that has to do with outer space or any astronomy-based book, sign me up. Now, what would even be better is if Neil deGrasse Tyson did the audiobook.
I could listen to that man talk all day.
But again, just judging a book by its cover here, the ratings are great. Honestly, I don't really like reading synopsis of books if I see that other people have enjoyed them. Like, I've seen this book on a couple people's TikToks and on their favorites videos, and if someone goes like, oh my gosh, this is my favorite book, I just stop there, because sometimes I find that the synopsis will kind of ruin the book for me. I just want the general premise, kind of like I gave you about Loveless, about a girl, she goes to college, she's looking to find romance, and she puts a rift in her friends. I definitely find that sometimes when I read the synopsis for a book, it completely ruins it for me. So I try my hardest to not do that. So a lot of people said that this was a really good book, one of their favorites, so I'm going to give it a read and we'll go from there. The same goes for my next book, which is My Heart is a Chainsaw. So if you guys know Kayla from Books and Lala, you'll know that this was in like her top 10 books from 2021, and that is definitely enough for me to read this book. And kind of the same premise, you know, she said that this was one of her favorite in like that genre of like horror and thriller, and I paused the video. I was like, I want to know nothing more about it. I just want to read it and find out for myself. So My Heart is a Chainsaw is definitely on my list. I have just a couple more and then we'll be done. The next book that I picked up was A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. Everyone knows this author because she wrote The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I love her writing style, so I'm definitely excited to read A Darker Shade of Magic. All of the ratings for this book are outstanding, so I'm definitely excited to give this book a read. Alright, we have 2 more books, both of them being horrors, and then we'll be done. The next book that I got is Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke. This book is written by Eric LaRocca. This book was set in the early 2000s, so like the time where like Instant Message and IM were like the thing. So these 2 girls meet in a chat room and then they start having discussions that turn really weird and twisty, and that's about all I know about this book, and that's enough for me. People said that it was like super crazy, so I'm interested to see where this book goes. And I've also seen people rate this 0 stars and people have rated this 5 stars. So, well, I guess we'll find out. And the last book and third Karen Slaughter book on the list is False Witness. So, hi, sorry, I totally meant to say The Good Daughter. Didn't read the synopsis, don't have to. I'm gonna read it and I'm probably gonna enjoy it. I adore Karen Slaughter's writing. I think that just me as a reader, I really connect with the way that she writes, and I know that her writing isn't for everyone, and that's okay. I know plenty of authors that I personally don't connect to at all, like connect with their writing style that people absolutely love. I know people who are ride or die Holly Black fans, and I am really happy for them, but it's not for me. Her writing's not for me, and that's okay. But Karen Slaughter, she knows what she's talking about. Those are all of the books that I have picked up over the last couple days. All of the physical books that I bought, all of the physical books that I bought are from that indie bookstore in Lakeland, so I will put it down in the description exactly where I got them from. The bookstore is called Inklings, so super cute. And then all of the ebooks that I picked up were just Kindle books. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and I definitely had a fun time filming it. I'm excited to get to read all of these. I had a fun time picking them all out. I hope to see you all in my January wrap up, and if you have any thriller recommendations or horror recommendations, please leave them down below. I promise I will get to them. I have really fallen in love with horror books. So thanks and have a good one.